Thanks for inviting us in. It's now 11 o'clock and we want to begin tonight with a police shooting on the Near East Side of Indianapolis. One suspect shot, no officers injured. Our Logan Gay joins us live from the newsroom tonight. Logan, what have you learned?
Well, Scott, police say the man shot by police is alive but in critical condition. Investigators say this all started after they located a wanted suspect and tried to arrest him. According to police, the man was wanted for unlawful possession of a firearm by a serious violent felon, robbery, and questioning in a child abuse case. IMPD officers say they found the man hiding in a detached garage on the street. They say when he exited the garage, officers gave him repeated commands for him to put his hands up and walk towards them. They say he initially complied but stopped short. They say he and officers exchanged some words and things escalated.
The suspect suddenly reached towards his waistband and attempted to run. At least one officer deployed a taser and one officer discharged a firearm. The suspect fell after a short distance.
While on the ground, police say officers continued to give him commands, but then they say he reached for his waistband, prompting more shots from officers. The suspect was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Police say they did not find a weapon on the suspect or surrounding areas.
I'm saddened that we're here. Saddened that there's a family that is with their loved one in the hospital. I'm sad that our officers, the emotional toll that something like this affects their lives. And I'm saddened that the community, because I know these incidents have a rippling impact.
A ripple felt by police who are on the job every day.
They were out here looking to apprehend people who are perpetrating violence within our community.
And a ripple felt in this community by people who say they're tired of seeing flashing lights like this in their neighborhoods.
Stop the violence. Stop from people, officers. Let them officers do their job and stop the violence.
Again, no one else was injured in the shooting. Police have not identified the suspects, and the officers involved are on administrative leave, which is standard procedure for the department. In the newsroom, Logan Gay, 13 News.
Well, after a daytime high of 84 degrees, the temperatures have cooled down. But boy, look at the difference. 72 at the airport, 65 at Eagle Creek and Fisher, 62 in Mount Comfort, and a 57 showing up for Carmel. Lots of variability in the temperatures. You get this on a night like this when the skies are clear, the cooler air is trying to settle near the surface and kind of easing into certain locations. I'll put 58 on the map, but as we've seen, some locations are already cooler than that. We're expecting clear skies. Tomorrow, after starting in the 50s, and we will be in the 50s for almost everyone, we warm up very quickly. You get another day, mid-80s, plenty of sunshine. You'll do this through the weekend, but I do have some big changes in the 7-day forecast. They start next week. I'll show you when it arrives.
All right, Rob, we'll see you in a little bit. Tonight, baristas at Starbucks here in Indianapolis are gearing up for a possible strike.
Win! I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win! I believe that we will win!
They're joining colleagues from across the country calling for a fair contract. The Starbucks along Mass Ave is the only location in our city that is unionized. We caught up with some of those baristas during what they call a practice picket. They tell us that Starbucks isn't listening to their needs or wants. They want better pay, better hours, and more staffing.
We are just given more and more and more responsibility, but with no flexibility in scheduling, no extra staffing. We aren't receiving enough to be able to make these happen and to give the proper customer experience that Starbucks had originally intended.
A spokesperson for Starbucks is telling 13 News tonight actions like the ones that we saw today have created more delays in reaching a mutual agreement for single store contracts. The spokesperson went on to say the company is ready to finalize a fair contract but needs union members back at the table to get that done. Time will tell if that practice picket becomes the real thing. Tonight, a troubled apartment complex on the far east side of Indianapolis is gone, but this did not happen overnight. Town and Terrace has been a problem spot for years. Back in 2020, police responded to this apartment complex 400 times. There were legal battles between the city and the owners. The demolition began 2 years ago. For all the people who call this place home, it's bittersweet.
I had a garden over there at the first property on the south side of the creek, and I used to give all the vegetables to the people in the community, and it was paradise, but it slowly turned into a mess.
I'm very hopeful. That's the big word for me because, you know, the Far East Side, 42nd and Post Road has a bad name, right? And so I'm very hopeful.
That is Councilor Rena Allen, who represents the district. She told us it's up to the community to decide what is next. So as part of this demolition process, city leaders help people in 120 households find new places to live. Tonight at 11, police are urging drivers and cyclists to take more caution. They say that an increase in crashes has them sounding the alarm. Take the Monon Trail, for instance. Hundreds of people use this trail every day. Yellow lights flash above the crossing at 16th Street. And when we stopped by, for the most part, the drivers that we saw either slowed down or stopped. But police tell us that's not always the requirement.
What we want is for pedestrians, cyclists to stop, look around, make eye contact with the drivers, make sure that people are stopping in all lanes, because even if they have the right of way, a crash between a pedestrian and a cyclist, the pedestrian's going to lose.
IMPD is also reminding drivers if there is a crash, no matter the circumstances, you have to stay on the scene and cooperate with investigators. Here's a look at the other stories making headlines right now. Investigators just released the name of the woman who was killed in a triple shooting on the northwest side of Indianapolis. All of this unfolding on Monday night. 33-year-old Vianney Hernandez was found dead in a car along Guyan Road near 38th Street. 2 men were also killed. Right now we're working to learn if police have identified a possible suspect in this case. A 25-year-old man is dead tonight after a crash along 465 on the northeast side of Indianapolis. This is a story we first brought you as breaking news last night at 11. Police tonight are confirming that William Scott II was a pedestrian on the interstate at the time of the crash. Traffic was restricted in the area for hours. Tonight, this skating rink here in Indianapolis is withdrawing its request for an alcohol permit. Skateland near 38th and High School Road faced pushback on that request last week from both neighbors and police. They pointed to past fights and gun violence at that business, arguing alcohol could lead to even more problems. Tonight, another 25 ICE detainees are arriving at the Miami Correctional Facility. That's according to the Indiana Department of Correction. So that brings the total number of detainees housed there to 45 so far. But we're told by Department of Corrections that they may see up to 100 by the end of this week. Remember, you can find all of our latest local stories anytime on our 13 News app.